Welcome to Touchline. I'm your host, Anthony Totera, coming to you again from BMO Field, the closing year press conference with Terry Dunfield and the Eero. Guys, what can you say to the fans first and foremost? They're disappointed. Strong finish with Dallas getting into the next round of Champions League, but the fans are still craving for a playoff game in this city, and they want one.
Yeah, and so are we. You know, it hurts not making the playoffs. I think it was always a real uphill challenge when we came here with only 3 months to go in the season. But I think overall that the fans will be optimistic for next season, and you know, I think the future's bright in Toronto.
And you never shied away from a microphone or any criticism. Your style is always bring your best to the game and be ready. Unfortunately, half of the season here, the players didn't bring their best. The last half they did, but it was too late. What do you want to say to the fans of TFC?
Obviously, you know, we rely on your support. You know, you guys have invested a lot, both time and you know, financially, and you know, we're hoping to repay you back. You know, like I said, everyone in this organization wants to make the playoffs. We believe we will next year, and it is optimistic, you know, going forward. Obviously, you look at our results for the past few months, and we've beaten some of the better teams in the league, some of the teams that are actually in playoffs right now. I think, you know, I think we can take that forward into next March and really make inroads.
Andy, you've played with a lot of players all over the world, but when you see the Canadian player, the Ontario player, in your mind, what does that player need to do to get to the level where, let's say, the American player is or the European player?
You know, it's a difficult question. You know, I think obviously they've had a good foundation coming through an academy system. You know, there's a great coaching staff in place now who have worked with younger players who can really develop them. And obviously, then you bring in experienced guys from all over the world like Danny and Torsten. You know, even Terry. You know, they can all share their words of wisdom with a young guy, and you know, really hopefully push them to the next stage of their career. You know.
Andy, guys like Ashton Morgan, guys like Daniil Henry, did they come to you after games or after practices to pick your brain on game strategy or what they could do better?
I think it's more a case of just during the game, you know, coaching each other, helping each other. You know, everyone has difficult games, and especially for a young guy, kind of dealing with different things on the field, like mistakes wise and everything. Then, you know, it's important that experienced players talk to them and say, hey, we all go through it. Let's get your head up. You know, I think. Like I said, I didn't see Ashton and Daniil much earlier part of the season, but this latter half, I think you've really seen you know, them excel. Obviously, Ashton got his first call up a couple of weeks ago, and you know, that's a testament to himself and the team and what we're really trying to do here.
Terry, let's be honest. Today's young player growing up, they think that they can get everything handed to them, but you know that you've got to work hard even in the off-season. Tell the young Ontario players, the young Canadian players, what they need to do in the off-season. The winters are cold here. Sure, it's hard to get out and train, but there's got to be things you can give to our youngsters out there, a tip or two to help them out to get to where you're at today.
I think young players in Canadian soccer, I think we're on the right plan now. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think having these academies in place are huge, and now having ex-players coaching as well who do know what it takes to make it, and these players now have people to look up to, and players who did make it, whereas maybe 10 years ago some of the coaching was not ex-players, players who hadn't played at the highest level, and also now I think young players will see you know, you can come here and play in front of 20,000, 25,000 people, and there's a cherry at the end of it. You know, it's a great experience to come play here in Toronto or even in Vancouver. So, you know, maybe instead of picking up a hockey stick, you know, you'll say, you know, I want to be a soccer player, and odds are, you know, one or two will make it.
Terry, at the age of 15, 16, in this country, Andy, and in this province specifically, I've seen it with my own two boys. We can compete with the Americans and the Mexicans. After the age of 18, there is a huge, huge downfall. Why, Terry? You went on to success in Europe. Tell the viewers out there, tell the youngsters what they need to do.
I think at the international level and the professional level, it's small things. You know, everyone's so close, and games are won and lost by you know, a simple mistake or not picking up on a set piece. And unfortunately, with Canada, we haven't been getting that rub of the green. But I think you look at our squad now, you've got top internationals who are playing at big clubs all over the world. You know, you look at players like Atiba Hutchinson, who plays for PSV. You've got probably Simeon Jackson plays in the Premiership. Julian, he's played in some of the best leagues in the world. So I don't think we're a million miles off. And I think success is coming, and for the first time in a little while, I think that next generation coming through will start to push some of the older players. And unfortunately for Stephen Hart, he hasn't had that. He didn't have that initially when he took over.
You love to hear Ashton Morgan say he wants to play for Team Canada. You don't hear that enough in this country, where all over the world people want to play for their country. And finally now you hear young players like Ashton Morgan say, I want to play for Canada. What does that say to you?
I think this I want to play for Canada gets taken out of context a little bit. I think there's maybe one or two players who've decided to go down different paths, and media have focused on those decisions. But I think 98% of the players who do play for Canada want to be there, and are very proud to play for Canada.
Agree, but there are a couple key players that could help this country go a long way. Do you not agree?
I do agree, and I know, speaking with the coaches with Canada, that they'd love to have these players, but at the minute in their careers, they're focusing on club level and seeing what's going to happen. But I won't disagree with you. I think they would help, but I agree with in the manager in one sense. You want players there that are proud to put on the Canadian jersey, and at the minute, every player in that squad falls into that category.
Well said. Last thing, Andy, to you and to Terry, how did the city of Toronto, how did the province of Ontario treat you and embrace you?
Great. I've really taken to the city. I love the fever coming into the stadium on game days. The fans love the sports. And they get behind the teams, win or lose. Hopefully now, like I said, going forward next season, we can we can bring some good times to TFC.
Terry?
I think Andy summed it up. I remember speaking to him about a month after he signed, and he said, this city's just itching for success. Mm-hmm. And there's a huge fan base here in Toronto, and you can feel it and you can sense it as a player, and fingers crossed next year we'll bring it.
Two guys that brought it each and every time they went out there to represent the city of Toronto TFC. Guys, thanks again for joining us here on Touchline.